Good morning, everyone. We're going to be talking about Final Cut Pro 10.7 this morning on. Good morning, everyone. Now, I always have to turn YouTube off because I can't turn it off until there's something actually playing. So we're live. Final Cut Pro, Final Cut TV and Coffee, episode 42. We're 10 episodes away from doing this for a year. So we got lots to talk about, of course. Final Cut Pro 10.7 is going to dominate the show this morning, as it usually has been doing for a while. And we got our first comment. Sean Beckner says, morning, absolutely. I got a little bit of business to attend to first, so I'll be back in a few minutes, as usual. Make sure I have audio. I have audio. Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing this morning? So, have you had time to play with Final Cut Pro 10.7? I have. Pretty much. I haven't tried all the features yet. But let's, yeah. Haven't tried them all, but I did do this. I did cross this off of my master list. I did cross that item off of my master list. Let me go back here. Here we go. Back to live mode. Got buttons to push. I'm pushing the buttons wrong. There we go. Ready? Don says ready for another formative Saturday morning. Listen, 42. We're 10 away from doing this for a full year. Like the scrolling timeline, but has anyone else experienced that the viewer sometimes freezes when you blade cut while the timeline and waveform continues without a problem? I have not experienced that, but that'll be interesting. I usually blade cut when the timeline is standing still, personally. 10.7, fantastic. Just finished the job with 10.7. It's a beautiful disaster. Love it. And Apple just getting started with 10.7. Think the future is bright above Final Cut Pro. Our friend Ben says, good morning, Richard. We survived 2 days of heavy thunderstorms. Been playing with 10.7. I thought you meant the thunderstorms were about Final Cut Pro 10.7 for a minute. The scrolling timeline is great. I'm having a good time with that myself. Good morning from Brazil. Absolutely. Biggest thing for me, waveforms don't redraw. They're permanent. Love it. Did you request permanent waveforms, Ben? Is that one of your requests? Me too. Blade cut on a still frame. I would have a problem blade cutting when the timeline was scrolling. I wouldn't be exact. I like, usually a blade cut is like within a frame, so I just use the left and right arrow keys to go where I want to go. So Ben says yes, he requested permanent waveform. So you got them. You requested and you got one of your features requested. That's fantastic. So I'm really enjoying the scrolling timeline. Some people are having issues with a little bit of stuttering, but that's to be expected. My H.264 export time feels faster. Absolutely. That sounds like something that's very, very possible. I've not seen any glitches cutting on the fly, Ben says, but I guess I use the Shuttle Pro, what is that? Contour Shuttle Pro 2, and I go like when I'm going to cut, I go one frame at a time to get the exact point and cut. I don't cut on the fly. That's just the way I edit personally. So That's one time I won't use the scrolling timeline. So with the scrolling timeline, let's talk about that first. Your performance is going to vary. Number one is if you have an Intel Mac versus a M1 or M2 or M3 Mac. That's going to be one of the things. How fast the disk is. If you're using the native disk on your Mac, that's going to be the fastest. If you're connected to a USB 3 disk, it's not going to be so good. That's not that fast. So in an SSD, an NVMe SSD connected via Thunderbolt is probably your best bet. So that's one of the other considerations. Do you have better quality? If you have high quality footage, are you using ProRes footage? Are you using H.264 footage? ProRes should be easier on timeline scrolling because it's not a H.264. It's not a long GOP format. It's professional format. So, and then how complex is your timeline? Timed several exports, no change in exports times here. I've seen it only really affects 10% faster, so it's not like it's 50% faster. Stopping and starting it again after it freezes solves this very minor issue with the blade cutting. I see. Spot Lewis says, hello from Philadelphia. To the Final Cut Pro team, would you marry me? Come on, guys, get excited for the future. I'm getting that background task message when using the optical flow retime feature. It hasn't appeared since 10.3. Background task message. I'm sorry, background task message. You mean that something's too slow? That's probably a preference you can turn off if you don't want to be notified of that. I think it is. That's pretty much what it's like. As far as I can tell. Here we go. Let's check out the backyard for 1 second. Do you see any birds out there? I haven't checked them out for a while, but there might be some out there. There might be a few out there this morning. We're getting ready for, let me see a couple more comments here. Hey, I'm enjoying Final Cut Pro 10.7. Lisa from Jamaica tuning in. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much. I saw that when you export, it says something isn't finished processing, but it actually has. So that, I'm not sure what that is. We'll have to see, but here's one thing I expect. Let me put this up. Oh, goodness. This is what I expect. Let me see. Dynamic, edit background, color, none. And we'll put it up to, we'll add this here. So I expect Final Cut Pro 10.7.1 to be out sometime shortly. It seems like there's a lot of little things that could be tweaking. I do expect one of the things that will be tweaking going forward on the Final Cut Pro 10.7 era is they will make the timeline scrolling even more efficient, maybe a little smoother, whatever. That's one of the things I expect. And some of these other things that people are reporting, this is why we have these Final Cut Pro and Coffee mornings on Saturdays for people to talk about it. So I expect this Final Cut Pro 10.7.1, they've come out in a couple of weeks sometimes, right? They've come out with an update if it's a little bug fix or a little tweak or something. I don't expect it to be too long. I would say probably within a week or 2 weeks, maybe a month, they'll have Final Cut Pro 10.7.1. But remember, 10.7 is the future of Final Cut. 10.6 is the past. Everything back that way is the past, which a lot of the things carry over to 10.7, don't get me wrong. But 10.7 is the future. Good morning. Good morning. After our talk on Wednesday, I picked up an OWC NVMe SSD Thunderbolt 3 Envoy. Expected to be here Monday. This will be my working cache drive from here on out. I'm going to get one of their, they have 4 NVMEs in a RAID 0. I'm going to get one of those as a working drive, but I need 16 terabytes. So it has to be 4 terabyte NVMEs in a RAID 0. And then, of course, it'll be backed up 100%. But as far as a working drive, that'll be very, very fast. So that's what I'm looking at getting. Greetings from Italy. Absolutely. I cut to dialogue and sounds almost daily, and not having to wait forever for waveform to redraw was a royal pain. Enjoying Final Cut Junior as well? Absolutely. Final Cut on the iPad was also updated. So it's interesting. They added one thing back to Final Cut for iPad, but then there's still another thing that was added. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. I got 4 hearts from somewhere. Somebody put in 4 hearts. So they added one thing to Final Cut for iPad that Final Cut Senior has, which was voice recording. But one thing additionally they don't have the scrolling timeline on the iPad version. That's kind of like a back and forth. Cutting 22-year-old footage of my daughter as an infant, really loving the scrolling timeline for that. Absolutely. Especially the longer ones. I'm sure we'll see a 10.71 bug fix before Christmas. I think so. Here's our friend Chris Hawking. It works by simultaneously processing video segments across multiple media engines, and it will only split up video to the different media engines if the content is long. I wonder what long is, Chris. What does that mean? Is that 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Faster HEVC and H.264 export will only happen if you're using Mac OS Sonoma. Good point. And a Mac with Apple Silicon. There you go. For example, you won't get faster exports if you have a 30-second or 1-minute timeline, but a feature-length film, you'll see improvements. That's a good point. Very, very good point. As a matter of fact, while Chris is on here, we're going to go to his website over there at FCPX Cafe, and he has his updates for Final Cut Pro stuff, Final Cut Pro 10.7 stuff. A lot of detailed information over here. fcp.cafe. What's new in Final Cut Pro? He has a lot of things on here. So go over there and visit. So the scrolling timeline is in Final Cut Pro is definitely a big improvement from what Command Post can offer. And it's a really nice implementation, as you can see. Oh, and he says he makes Richard Taylor is very happy. I am very happy. I'm ecstatic about the scrolling timeline. And if it's not 100% yet, that's okay. It'll get improved. It'll be improved as we go along. It'll be improved as we go along. Now, this is interesting. Daniel says timeline scrolls smoother if your project is set to 60 frames per second. I wonder why. Good morning from Brazil. Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. What do you mean when you say 6-year roadmap? It means that after 6 years, Final Cut Pro could be dead? No. We've already had a 10-year roadmap that was talked about originally. At the Creative Summit, the Final Cut Pro team said, we have plans for Final Cut Pro for the next 6 months and for the next 5 and 6 years. So that's not a 10-year roadmap. That's a 16-year roadmap or an 18-year roadmap because we're already at year 12. No, absolutely not. There's no plans to do no plans. 4 C's, 1 family. Glad to hear you, Richard, from Taipei, Taiwan. Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in. I'm using a Samsung X5 Thunderbolt driver as my editing drive at the moment. It works like a charm. Absolutely. Just back up your media. Don't put your media on one of those SSD drives and that's the only place that exists, please. Makes me nervous. Makes me nervous when people talk about that. Back up your media. Now let's get Final Cut Pro and Logic linked together. Yes, good point. Motion compressor, Logic all got updates too. Don't forget to update Final Cut Pro video formats. Interestingly, this is a perfect example of them updating Pro apps very fastly. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. So November what day was it? The single digits, 7th, 8th, 9th, Logic 8.0, Final Cut Pro 7.0 were both announced. Logic came out then, I think it was November the 7th. Logic already has 10.8.1 update out. It's already out 3 weeks later. So they're much quicker getting these bug fixes out than they have been in the past, because in the past it would be a month. A month was fast in the past. Final Cut's had 2 bug fixes within 2 weeks in the last 6 months. As a matter of fact, in the last 6 months, we've had 6 Final Cut Pro updates. Now, a lot of those were just bug fixes, few features, and of course 10.7. 6 months, 6 updates to Final Cut Pro. May, July, August had a couple, September, whatever. That's much, much faster than they've done in the past. So that's really good. The Logic team has a very different track record than the Final Cut Pro dev team. As far as being fast and doing a lot of fixes, yes. The media I want to keep is backed up to an X9 Pro, and I'm planning on a second X9 Pro as well. There you go. You mean a Samsung X9 Pro? Yeah, I have, one day I'll show you a picture of all my hard drives. I literally have 24 8-terabyte hard drives sitting on my shelf. These are just USB spinning drives. Now, they are backing up my 56-terabyte RAID 5. That's what they are. I make 2 copies of all media on 8-terabyte drives. I actually started getting 16 terabytes because the 8 terabytes are filling up so fast. And before I take it off of my RAID is also filling up. My 56-terabyte RAID is also filling up. 64 terabytes raw, 56 terabytes is a RAID 5. So, what else do we have going on here? We talked about Chris Hawking's FCP Cafe website, which is a really good website. Let's go back over here. This is the what's new in Final Cut Pro for Mac. These are the features that are listing. Automatic timeline scrolling, video roll colors. So they've added colors to the video rolls that can be separate. If you expand your audio, the roll color will come on your timeline for the video. Collapse to connected storyline. I'm still getting my head around exactly what's going on there. It's like collapse to the main storyline, but it's for secondary storylines. Accelerate H.264 HEVC export. Chris Hawking said that is the longer your timeline, the faster it'll be. An enhanced object tracker. So that's interesting. The enhanced object tracker is the new machine learning model, which I really like. So I'll be trying that and see if it's better than what has happened in the past. Carbon copy cloner, I have that, 2 a.m. every single day, bootable backup without fail, absolutely. Not happy, I have to expand clips to see both roll colors at once. I know Ian Anderson told the Final Cut Pro team it needs to show always, not just expanded. Good point. That's a very good point. So right now, you won't see the color of the roll until you expand the audio. At that point, whatever video color you have for the roll will be in the timeline. Before that point, I think the audio still takes precedence and it'll show the audio color. That's from what I understand. As a matter of fact, while we're talking about that, let's go over here. Let's go over here. So Ian Anderson has a new set of videos and they're free. Click on this. Now you have to log into your account before you can see some of these. Let me see.
Hello, and welcome to this course about Final Cut Pro 10.7. My name's Ian Anderson. I'm an Apple certified trainer. I wrote Final Cut Pro Efficient Editing, and I'll be taking you through all the new features of this release. Probably the big headline is the scrolling timeline, which has arrived. We've also got some really important improvements to video rolls and a really nice command, collapse to connected storyline.
So that's over there at macprovideo.com. It's a nice little free tutorial course. There's the interesting thing is there's a lot of tutorial course videos out on YouTube. Everybody's doing but they're all covering exactly the same things. And there's not like it's a laundry list of new feature improvements. You have the scrolling timeline, you have the collapse to connected storyline, video roll, color enhancements, and everybody's going over the exact same things with little variance. There's a little variance. We were the first people we had the Final Cut Pro 10.7 live stream 30 minutes after Final Cut Pro 10.7 launch. Thank you very much for the thumbs up, by the way. We've got a lot of thumbs up already. That's fantastic. So we were live within 30 minutes of the launch of Final Cut Pro 10.7. And the first time I saw this was on our live stream on Thursday, about 45 minutes after Final Cut Pro was launched, is you can set a keyboard shortcut for the scrolling timeline. I think we were the first to talk about that. One of the viewers put that up on the screen, and of course I posted it. So we were the first people to talk about that. Because we were the first people we were live 30 minutes after Final Cut Pro was launched. We were live at 2 o'clock. I think it came out at 1:30. This is Eastern time. So let me see here. Oh, here we go. Final Cut Pro 10.7 works perfectly without any problems on my Intel. I'm so glad that it's working on Intel. Scrolling timeline, welcome. Very happy with this update. Good work, Final Cut Pro team. Absolutely. I am so glad for people that are on Intel that the scrolling timeline is working on the Intel machines as well. That is fantastic. Yes, audio roll color takes priority unless you expand the audio. Then it'll show the video. I know I spelled his name incorrectly, but Ian's correct. Ian's. Oh yeah, Ian. Yeah, it's a tough one. We'll be looking at Ian's course later today. So absolutely, Ian has a course. It's just once again, you can kind of pick. No, I like Ian. I've known Ian for years. We've had the Australians, the Aussies on here on one of these Final Cut TV shows. The next time will be the 9th time we've had them on specifically, including Chris Hawking, Ian Anderson, Lee Herbert. We've had them on 8 times, and the 9th time will be the next time we have them on. So we have them on all the time. Can anyone else reproduce this 10.7 bug. Which bug are you talking about, Chris? Which bug are you talking about? I've lost track. I'd say Ian is the second best Final Cut Pro trainer in the world. I've seen a lot of good trainers. Ian certainly is one of them, absolutely. Chris has to tell us what bug he's talking about, if anybody else has seen it. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Oh, by the way, I want to mention this. So I want to bring this up just because I like to mention my list. I've had this Buy Me a Coffee over here, and we had a lot of people buying coffees for the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. A lot of people buying coffees. And Joe Wilson bought 10 coffees. Thank you for keeping us posted on the Final Cut Pro update. That's fantastic. I said, wow, thanks a lot, Joe. So this is where you can go to support me. It's buy a coffee. They're $5 a piece. 1 coffee, 2 coffees. Joe bought 10 because of my coverage of Final Cut Pro 10.7. Thumbs up. Big thumbs up to Joe for that. It's really appreciated. It's just a little extra nice thing that people can do. Thumbs up are fantastic. We got 13 thumbs up already. 13 thumbs up and 4 hearts. I'm not sure where the hearts come from, how they come into play. But that's appreciated. It's really appreciated. I do these morning shows on Saturdays specifically because I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about Final Cut Pro. 10.7 was a complete. I was expecting it. I was expecting 10.7. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Brad Olson and Chuck over there at the Creative Summit during lunch one time, and Chuck said, "What are we expecting today?" He didn't have the latest version of Final Cut Pro, and I said, well, 10.7. 10.7, absolutely, 10.7. This is before we saw 10.7. And then Brad said that Chris Hawking said we're getting a scrolling timeline. Now, I don't know if Chris knew something in advance about that. He may have. But I was correct that 10.7 we absolutely did see it, and then Chris was also correct that we got the scrolling timeline. Now, the interesting thing is this. I was not expecting the scrolling timeline in 10.7. I mean, I've been wanting it for over 12 years, but I wasn't necessarily expecting it in 10.7. I was kind of leaning towards text-based editing, but we got the scrolling timeline. We did not get text-based editing, not yet. For me, 10.7 works perfectly on my Mac Mini M2 Pro like never before. Good morning. Only able to stop in for a moment, shooting later today. Absolutely. I'm shooting 3 events today. I got 3 events I'm shooting. Number one is a private event. It's some of my classmates. We're having a luncheon, and I'll be doing a short video for them to document everybody that's there. But then we have Santa Claus coming down to Main Street, USA, Sykesville, Maryland, starting at 3 o'clock, 3 to 6. And I'll be taping some of that. Now, the interesting thing is they have a train car, a real train car down on Main Street. Inside that train car, they have model trains set up for almost the entire length. So people come into the train car, up the steps to the train car, and they can see model trains running all over the place. And then Santa Claus is going to be in one of the, I think he's in the next train car up for the kids. So I'll videotape some of that. And it depends on how dark it is, whether I use my iPhone 15 Pro Max, or I use my Lumix S5 II Mark X. S5 Mark II X. I might use either one. So, and then I have an event tonight. The Humane Society of Carroll County is having a big gala event to raise funds for the homeless and orphaned animals in Carroll County. I'll be going to that, and I'll be taping some of that. So I'm taping 3 events myself. Text-based editing will only come to Final Cut Pro once Apple eventually fixes Siri. We might see the results of Apple GPT at WWDC next year. Siri, why is that, Chris? Because Siri is such a ineffective, and it should be great. Has anyone tried Reveal in browser? Seems half done. I think there's an improvement, but I think people are still dissatisfied. Very cool. Please film in the train car. I'd love to see it. I will. I absolutely will. Today is a gala for me as well. That's very good. So I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot with my Lumix S5 Mark II X at the luncheon because that's inside and it's a little bit darker. At least that's what I'm thinking. But I shoot in 6K. Wow, 16 thumbs up. Fantastic. People are fantastic. 6K. I shoot that in 6K open gate. So that's a big frame, and I can shoot vertical for social, or I can shoot horizontal, either one. Hello, OZSAL 5581. Only reveal the clip in a keyword collection if that keyword collection is already selected. What, really? I don't know how that works. I wish, I know Chris Hawking has a thing in Command Post where when you do a Shift F and reveal in browser, you can actually find the playhead. Because so many times it's like, where is the playhead on my clips? I don't know where it is. So I'd like to see that bigger, or the clip highlighted or something, because that's a real pain. Here's our friend Jeff Urbayo. Good morning. Good morning, Jeff. I think collaboration as the next big feature would be fantastic. I'm sure they're working on that because they've heard about that from multiple times at Creative Summits in the past. Look, I'm already looking forward to next year's Creative Summit. I filmed 1.5 terabytes. I'm adjusting myself on I got a swivel chair, high chair, and I have my desk is an adjustable desk. It can go up and it can go down. It's a motorized desk. I got this a long time ago. It's an L-shaped. I have to organize it. Once I organize and clean up my upstairs, this is my upstairs studio, I'll do a tour for you one day and show you what it's like. Right now, there's too much. It's too messy, even for me. So I'm not going to show you anything. The background is fine. We got our Strat over there. 71 Strat, I think it is. But anyway, he says, I think collaboration was the next big feature. I would think that's probably more work. So I'm thinking text-based editing will be the next big feature. That's what I'm hoping. I know that they have an audio mixer in Final Cut Pro, just like I knew they had a scrolling timeline all this time. I know that they have one. I've heard from somebody on the inside, that it's there. They have work to do on it, or they want to release it at a certain time when something else is done. So Rolls-Based Mixer absolutely is there. It'll be coming at some point. I don't know when. Collaboration might be more of an issue. Text-based editing, we'll see how that works. I would think that they probably are working on that personally. So Siri will never be able to compete with other AIs as long as Apple insists that it's only having access to the info on the individual machine and not storing your questions on a server. Make that an option, perhaps. If you don't want to go out to the web, make that an option. I've seen folks post that permanent waveforms only work when scrolling timeline is turned on. It works for me when scrolling turned off, both in Intel and M1. When you're saying permanent waveforms, Ben, I think you mean live waveforms. When you're saying permanent, I'm thinking that they're frozen. So I think you mean live waveforms, right? So they expand and contract as you zoom in and out. They update live. I think that's what you mean, because permanent means I think they're frozen. 6K is awesome. With 4K deliverables, you're able to crop in to emulate multiple cameras. Not only that, but I deliver in 1080p. So imagine delivering in 1080p and I have a 6K frame that I can zoom in anywhere, because most of my deliveries are 1080p because they're going to YouTube and stuff. If something's really super important, I'll put it up at 4K or even at 6K with the 16:9 crop. Apple does that to protect our privacy. I understand, but we should have the option. Siri uses an AI engine, but it is itself not an AI engine. There you go. Michael says, hello from Peoria, Illinois, shooting an outdoor Christmas show today. I will be as well down at Sykesville, Main Street, starting maybe 4 to 5 today, between 4 and 5. They start at 3, so I'll go down there about 4. I'll probably film about an hour. And when I'm filming now, I always set my camera to film in ProRes Log. Not 100% of the time, but I really like ProRes Log. It's fantastic on the iPhone. And it just, I have my Lumix camera, but this thing, I have 3 different lenses. I have 4 lenses: the ultra wide, the 1x, the 2x, and then now the 5x. And it's so easy to switch between them while you're recording. The Lumix right now, I have one zoom lens, a 20-60, but that's a high aperture, so it's not a very fast lens. I have 3 primes. I have a 24, 50, and 85. They're f.18. But I'm going to they have a new lens that just came out. They have a 70 to 200 millimeter f.28. f.28. That's the one I'm going to get, but it's like $50. I mean, it's $50. Sorry, man. It's like $1,500 right now, brand new. So if I see that on sale, that's the next lens I'm going to be getting, because f2.8 is fast enough for that length of a zoom that'll be probably like my prime lens. Not my prime lens. I mean the main lens that I'll be using. Transcription, auto caption. Right. I think the transcription, auto caption, text-based editing will probably come together. Waveforms never really redraw like before. They're just there, but it is live. Sorry, Ben says every time you say beep, beep, my phone wakes up and says, sorry, I didn't get that. Richard, stop triggering my phone. There you go. Yeah, Siri gets triggered for me when I say something even, oops, I shouldn't have said that. Apple's whatever gets triggered on my phone a lot of times when I'm not even talking to her. Well, I've got 20 thumbs up. Fantastic, fantastic. So what else do we have to talk about? We talked about Chris Hawking's FCP.cafe website. We talked about Ian Anderson's website. And we talked about Final Cut Pro. So are most people, I mean, for me, obviously the scrolling timeline is the biggest thing. Somebody, one of our websites asked me, because I mentioned that you can call me Mr. Scrolling Timeline. That's what I'm just, of course, joking about that. But somebody said, well, now what do we call you since you got the scrolling timeline? And I said, call me Mr. Text-based editing or audio mixer. Audio mixer, that's what you can call me going forward. Going forward, that's it. Still waiting for the telepathic interface, so edits are done as I think of them. Come on, Apple, let's get together. Yeah, that's, I mean, people talk about the Vision Pro, And I'll certainly be curious about that. I mean, curiosity will definitely get me that I'll be trying one. I'm not going to be spending $3,500 on one. Absolutely not. My money is, any money I spend on the next Mac, big thing for Mac, it's not going to be an iPad. I'm not that interested in iPads. It's going to be a new MacBook Pro. But, if I can see the M3 for a nice discount, maybe $500, because the one I'm looking at is it's like over $5,000. I'm not spending that right now. The M1 Max is doing a fantastic job for me. Final Cut Pro 10.7 working well on a 2019 Intel Mac Tower, Pro Tower. Happy for that. Absolutely. I loved my 2019 Intel Mac Pro Tower, but I sold it for a new MacBook Pro. I have the money. I haven't spent it yet. Matter of fact, somewhere around here, I kept the money in an envelope and I'm keeping it for a new MacBook Pro. Or if I get, listen, this MacBook Pro is doing fantastic. This is all I really needed for travel when I go to NAB and when I go to Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. So this one's doing so well that I might get a Mac Studio, M3 Mac Studio Ultra whenever they came out. So we have a bit of a disappointment with the second connected storyline. I thought it was going to be like an open compound clip. Yeah, I kind of thought it was too, but apparently that's not the case. It's just like when you collapse to the main storyline, now it can collapse to a secondary storyline. I don't understand the use of a second connected storyline to just break my clips. I stack up a lot of my video. I thought it would help me clean that up. Well, you can still make a compound clip. It's just that it doesn't open up in place like I thought it would. It will have limited uses. Not everyone will have the need for it. Right. Well, that's the same with all your updates, right? I mean, so when people were talking about on our stream, we were the first to talk about the keyboard shortcut for the scrolling timeline. Not we, somebody in the audience talked about it on our live stream. We were live within 30 minutes of Final Cut Pro 10.7 coming out. So when somebody mentioned you can do a keyboard shortcut for that, I'm like, no, I'm going to super glue that preference on so it never can get turned off. Never can get turned off. That's, of course, a little joke, but an expandable compound clip would, in my humble opinion, thrill the majority of us. Please, Apple, please, absolutely. Expandable right in the timeline. Right in place, right in the timeline. I don't want to be jumping to another timeline. That's confusing. You have no bearing of where you are in the main. It doesn't have any, you have no synchronization of where you are in the main storyline. They know that. I've had that on the list for quite a while. So I have to sell my iPhone 14 Pro Max. I didn't sell it yet. I thought might need it at the Creative Summit. I did not need it because I had two other cameras. So I didn't sell it before I went to the Creative Summit. Now I have to sell it. It's in pristine condition, and it's 1 terabyte, pristine condition, everything. I think it's space black or gray, whatever they had that year. It's been kept in a case, and it is still under Apple Care warranty. I got the month-by-month version, so if you wanted it, whoever buys it, if they want it for a month or 2 months, you can pay me and I'll keep it running. 14 Pro Max, the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I always get the top of the line, everything. But I'm not really going to, I'm going to sell it locally probably because I'm not interested in shipping it and having an issue getting lost. I mean, I've heard horror stories, people like on eBay. Oh, I never got your shipment of this, and the FedEx lost the package. I can't be dealing with that, so I'm going to sell it locally. On Facebook Marketplace, people come to my house, they give me cash, they try it out. It's still under Apple Care warranty, et cetera, et cetera. But I've had a lot of success for that. So the 14 Pro Max, I'm probably going to ask $850 for it, something like that. This one costs $1,600 This is the 15 Pro Max. I think that one also costs 15 or 1600. So 850 is what I'll probably be asking for it. It's a little bit negotiable if somebody comes over here with cash, but it's still under Apple Care warranty. I keep all my phones under Apple Care. If lost and theft and breakage and all that stuff, just in case. This thing is too important to me. This is too important. I use it all the time. I really, really like it, especially now with Apple ProRes Log. It's fantastic. I love that ability. The lenses are good. I'm not buying any more lenses for my phones. I had a whole set of Moment lenses. I got a new cage, a small rig cage that takes the Moment M mount lenses. So I'll be keeping the ones that I have. I might sell a couple of them, but I'll keep the ones that I have, and I'm not going to invest in any more lenses. The lenses are fine. Like I said, I'll probably be getting the 70 to 200 millimeter zoom lens, f2.8 zoom lens for my Lumix, and that'll be enough lenses for me. My iPhone 15 Pro, it's amazing. It absolutely is amazing. I was shooting at the Creative Summit. When I was shooting at the Creative Summit, some of the rooms were dark. So I pull up my Lumix, but sometimes the iPhone did as good at or even a better job for some of the places, not the real dark places. With 10.7, it looks like the waveforms render now much faster for my current 2-hour documentary. That's really helpful. I bet you that scrolling timeline is also helpful for your 2-hour documentary. I have a 2-hour and 20-minute documentary that I've shown one time in a theater at the Silver in Silver Spring. And we're going to have another showing in 2024. And I think that's about 2 hours and 20 minutes, but I didn't have the scrolling timeline when I worked on that prior. So that'll be a big bonus. 22 thumbs up, 6 hearts. Thank you very much. That is fantastic. The scrolling timeline is amazing. It beats Adobe's scrolling timeline easily. That's what I've heard. I haven't used Adobe products for a long time. Very, very long time. I started on Adobe Premiere for the Mac back in the late 90s, was it? 98, 99? And that was my first experience. Just curious, how is Final Cut Pro scrolling better than Adobe's? I think I forget exactly. I think I saw a video that explained why it's better. But I think it's the best implementation of a scrolling timeline anywhere. Maybe because the waveforms redrawing or whatever. I'm not sure how that works exactly. But 23 thumbs up, 6 hearts. Fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm really glad you appreciate these live streams. We're gonna continue to do them on Saturdays. Saturdays 9, maybe we'll switch to 9. 9 seems to be popular, 9 or 10. For the most part, I used to go 10, but today I have to get out of here. I have a package coming, a big box coming from FedEx that I have to get inside. Then I have a luncheon date. Not a date, but a luncheon with my classmates. We have luncheons every 6 months or so. Some of my classmates, we get together, local people. Then I'm going down to Main Street, USA, Main Street, Sykesville, Maryland, and filming the train cars. People will be outside, hot chocolate, coffee, Santa Claus, the Grinch, Mrs. Claus is out there. I'll film that. And I'm not sure, it won't be live. This not supposed to be live because I can do a better job if I film and do a slight edit and then post it like the next day, which is what I'll be doing for the Christmas stuff. And I'll also be doing later in the year, we're going down to Christmas Street, USA in Hamden, Maryland. They have this whole city block of just all the houses are just through the roof with Christmas decorations. And we go down to that every year. And I'll be going down there again and filming that live. Not live, filming it, but then I won't stream it live. I'll just film it and put it up later afterwards. Let's check out the backyard here. Any birds? Oh, look, somebody's in the garden. Somebody is in the garden cleaning up. Oh, she's in her pond. She's in her pond. Let's do there we go. Switch this over to circle. Yeah, circle looks good. Switch this over to circle. Here we go. So the garden's in the back there. I don't see any birds at the feeder. The birds around here are very, very lucky. She puts out expensive suet and bird feeder. We have two poles out there. There's just one of them. So the leaves aren't too bad. The leaves are not too bad. I've been digging, trying to find undocumented updates in Final Cut Pro, but I can't find anything. Often there's stuff in there Apple doesn't mention. So, yeah. They mentioned the keyword collection. Ben, you can check this video. I used to have birds in my yard all the time. Then I got a dog, and the dog chases them away. Comparison to Premiere scrolling timeline. I guess you have to look on YouTube for that. I don't see where that is available. I'm checking out the live YouTube feed. So here we go. Here we go. There's our live YouTube feed. I keep an eye on things over there, as you might imagine. But also on the Facebook group, our Facebook group, we're streaming on Facebook and a couple of places. Our friend Chris Hawking says, Ben, the relink progress bar now actually moves as it happens. With the scrolling timeline, I think they're talking about, right? Yes, indeed. We got 23 thumbs up and 6 hearts this morning so far. Fantastic. Yeah, we've definitely gone up. But watch it later after Richard's live. Absolutely. Don't go there now. You'll bring my count down. I'm just kidding, of course. So, are we satisfied with Final Cut Pro? I'm just checking on the time. Are we satisfied with Final Cut Pro 10.7? Everybody's satisfied? Not that it's the end of anything. It's just the beginning of the 10.7 era. It's the beginning of the 10.7 era of Final Cut Pro. 25 thumbs up, fantastic. So relinking media is not showing up in the background task window. Cool. Relinking media. It's a good start to New Year's. Yes, it is a good start. That's exactly the good way to put it, Ben. 10.7 is a start of this next era of Final Cut Pro. It's not, like I said, 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7. 10.5, 10.6, 10.7 is those full number updates were not the big updates that we got in the past. So apparently, they are not going to be doing big full feature updates when they do the full number updates. What they're doing is they're spreading feature updates evenly along the life cycle of Final Cut Pro. So as we got the life cycle of 10.7 ahead of us, right? It's ahead of us. It's the beginning of the 10.7 era of Final Cut Pro. This is the beginning. We will be getting more features. and more. Of course, we'll be getting bug fixes, but I think there's enough. I think I've seen enough bugs reported that we'll be getting 10.7.1, Final Cut Pro 10.7.1 in the next, maybe by Christmas, New Year's, next couple of weeks. You know, whatever bugs people are seeing, they'll go ahead and squash those. And I expect the scrolling timeline will be improved along the way of 10.7 and into 10.8, or if they go to Final Cut Pro 11. At some point, they're going to 11, right? I mean, Final Cut, the classic Final Cut Pro went from 7, and they put out 10, Final Cut Pro 10. They never had a Final Cut Pro 8. So it was 7.0.3, if I'm not mistaken, the classic version of Final Cut was. So they can jump from 7 to 11. Wouldn't be 10, obviously. We've already seen 10. So everybody likes 10.7. That's a good step for beginning for this new era of Final Cut Pro. Everybody likes it. So I've started a Facebook group over there, facebook.com/groups, Final Cut Pro 10.7. And we're going to concentrate on just talking about Final Cut Pro 10.7 and forward. Now, of course, there'll be some overlap with 10.6 and earlier versions because there's a lot of things in 10.7 that have been around for a long time, but we're going to try to keep the conversation specific to Final Cut Pro 10.7 for the majority of the time. Don't forget to subscribe over there at YouTube, or the YouTube channel. We've got our subscription numbers have come up. We've got a lot of support from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit reporting, and then the constant reporting I did with Final Cut Pro 10.7. We did live streams on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday when it actually came out. We were live within 30 minutes of it coming out. Nobody else did that. We were live within 30 minutes of Final Cut Pro 10.7 coming out. So that's it. Final Cut Pro 10.7. We finally got it. There's the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Richard Taylor TV. And I think we're going to wrap things up. It's 10 o'clock. You have anything else you want to say? We'll go back. Let's go back one more time to some of the websites that we've gone to. Let's go over to here. Chris Hawking's FCP Cafe. He has a lot of information about Final Cut Pro updates and stuff. Library database, all kinds of stuff. Command sets. And we also have our friend, bedtime. I'm surprised you're up. Bedtime, isn't it past midnight? I can never keep track of Australian time. Whenever I have Chris on and Ian on and Lee on, I have to give them my time and let them decipher what time it is in their places, because Australia has 5 time zones, and one of them is 30 minutes off. All of them are 1 hour or hours difference, but one of them is 30 minutes off, so I can never keep track of that. We know the time. I get up early in the morning, 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Thank you, Richard. I tend to fall out of the loop, not being a trainer any longer. These little chaps help me stay in touch with the community. Thanks. Keep it up. Have a good weekend. Absolutely, Ben. I'm glad to have you on. Absolutely. What do we have here? 26 thumbs up. Fantastic. It's a lot of people giving me the thumbs up. I appreciate it. 6 hearts. So we're gonna go ahead, and I don't expect anything to happen this week in Final Cut Pro wise, news wise. So I'll be working on Italy. It's 4 p.m. I'll be working on the next episode of Final Cut Pro Radio. We have a new episode. It just came out the day before Final Cut Pro, no, 2 to 3 days before Final Cut Pro hit. We had Brad Olson, we had Serena Catania, and then Bill Davis, the other Bill Davis. We had those three on, and we talked about the Creative Summit. We talked about Final Cut Pro 10.7, which wasn't out yet when we talked about it. It was just shown to us at the Creative Summit. So we talked about all that stuff. And we talked about Final Cut Pro in general, the Final Cut Pro team, et cetera, et cetera. That's at fcpradio.com or in iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. We're starting our 9th year in January. Beginning of January, we started 9 years ago. The first person we had on was Sam Mestman. The very first person we had on was Sam Mestman. So we're starting 9 years podcasting in January. We'll have a December version of the Final Cut Pro Radio podcast out, and we'll be doing these on Saturdays at the usual time. We'll hit most Saturdays. We might take a Saturday off around Christmas, New Year's. We'll have to see how that goes. But we'll be doing most Saturdays. Of course, if there's 27 thumbs up, fantastic, fantastic. Of course, we will have the Final Cut Pro Radio podcast as well. That'll keep going on. FCPX.TV will keep going on with lists of things. We'll see how that goes. I don't expect any Final Cut Pro news in case 10.7.1 comes out. I don't think it will this week. I would do a quick live stream to talk about that. If not, next Saturday, I don't know. What do you think? 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock? Does that work? Tell me what you like better, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Most Saturdays I can do either or, but the fact that 9 o'clock seems to be working out pretty well, maybe I'll switch it to 9. I don't really have any preference one or the other. 27 thumbs up and 7 hearts. Fantastic. You people are the best. You people are the best. By the way, I've been putting up short clips from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit over there at, let me just pull this up. Groups, Final Cut. This is our main Facebook group to go along with this. Let me save that. Save. This is the main Facebook group where we talk about these live streams and things. And facebook.com/groups, Final Cut Radio TV. That's where you want to go. We discuss Final Cut Pro. We discuss these live streams. If you have any questions, people put up tips and all kinds of stuff. So that's the main group associated with these live streams, Final Cut Radio TV. That's both the podcast and Final Cut TV, which is this, Final Cut TV, which is this one. And so I'm going to go with 9 o'clock next week. If you want to switch over to 10 o'clock, back to 10 o'clock, come over there, Final Cut Radio TV, or see me on Twitter or see me on YouTube. Just post over there. But I'm going to get out of here for today. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate the thumbs up. I appreciate the people who bought me coffees over there at buymeacoffee.com. It's fantastic. Joe Wilson bought me 10 coffees for keeping information going about Final Cut Pro 10.7. I do the most live streams of anybody. Final Cut Pro related. I did 8, 9, 10 hours of live streaming from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. I did 3, 4, 5 hours waiting on Final Cut Pro 10.7. It gives a chance for the community to come in and talk. But anyway, I'm going to continue these live streams Saturday mornings. If nothing happens during the week, I don't expect it. I think they're probably winding down for Christmas season in the New Year's over there at the Final Cut Pro team, Pro Apps team. But also, don't forget, I'm still on Ventura, but I have a Sonoma update on my hard disk. I didn't partition. I added a second volume on my MacBook Pro hard drive, and I added Sonoma over there. So if you went to the Creative Summit, you get a free copy of Philip Hodgett's and Gregory Clark's new app, Picture This. If you went to the Creative Summit, you have a way to get that. I don't want to talk about how to do it, but you have a way to get a free copy of that if you went to the Creative Summit. I haven't installed it yet because I'm on Ventura, but I'll go to my Sonoma volume and boot up in there and then download it from there. The Frank 636 says Final Cut Pro 10.7 works very well. No problem with old library. Seems much more responsive and fluid. That is what we want to hear. So we got 27 thumbs up and 7 hearts today. Fantastic. Thanks each and every one of you. We will be back next Saturday. If nothing happens in the Final Cut Pro world that's exciting during the week. If there is, if like 10.7.1 comes out or an article comes out, I'll go ahead and we'll come back live. Otherwise, we will see you, each and every one of you, next week. Thank you very much for stopping in. Final Cut TV.